modern students and depression.
Begin a brief explanation as to what depression is in order. According to the World Health Organization, depression is defined as being a mental disorder characterized by feelings of worthlessness, guilt, sadness, etc. Contrary to normal sadness accompanied by the loss of a loved one, clinical depression is persistent and severe. It may be accompanied by feelings of self-loathing, self-punishment, sleeping/eating disorders, and even temptations for suicide. Depression is unfortunately a prevalent problem among high school students across the nation, and its effects on their ability to perform duties in and out of school are catastrophic.
If high school students' depression is not dealt with, then it will have a long-lasting negative effects on their academics and their future. Depression in students is common, especially in high school and college students. What causes this? Well, parent relationships, teacher relationships, bullies, and other outside factors. Other outside factors being divorce, death of a parent, physical disorders like Down syndrome, or alcohol and drug abuse. A student's environment reflects the way they will perform in school. A quote from the Newport Academy states, "Individual students are thus pressured to excel or complete a degree, lest they bring dishonor to the family and friends and endanger their employment and life prospects. They feel like they cannot reach their goal, and it will make them not want to work for it. They feel no self-confidence because the school is pressuring them, so the students won't work." Parents who force their students to get the best grades stresses students out. In schools that have high expectations, like there in the graph, with exams being 22% and grades being 23%, can really stress the student out and lead to depression.
Today's teens face a multitude of perennial problems, one of them being the fact that they have to deal with technology, social media in particular. To test and prove this, Newport Academy sent a group of 20-odd adults into a high school in Topeka, Kansas on an A&E documentary series called Undercover High. As the name implies, they went undercover to classes, joined clubs, interacted with other students, and just really tried to get a sense as to how it feels to be a teenager today. They made many discoveries, but their main discovery is that adolescent depression is connected to social media. Because teens become depressed when they compare, and they often compare themselves to those they follow on social media. To specify, they discovered that adolescents sometimes feel as though they must uphold a certain perfection on social media, to the point that it compels them to share even sexual images of themselves with other students, or even post them online to prove their point. Moreover, the average American teen spends about 9 hours on media a day. In fact, literally 50% of the students surveyed at the high school felt as though they were addicted to their smartphones. This focus on the screen and media ultimately causes damage to relationships, education, extracurricular activities, etc. And so, it attributes to teen depression as well as other mental disorders such as ADHD and anxiety.
Alright. This chart displays the results of a survey done to find the average stress level in teens today. As seen here, millennials have the highest average. There are many factors that can contribute to student depression: increasing gun violence, increasing social media and drug usage, poor educational systems, etc. These stressors cause anxiety. These stressors cause anxiety among students, which in turn can cause depression, which itself is a gateway to multiple negative mental and physical factors. Teens today no longer have social lives due to the detrimental mental factors affecting them daily. For example, the image on the left displays the effects of social media on a teenage mind. Fundamentally, social media is like a drug. It hooks their minds in, and they become unable to live without it, despite its numerous negative effects, such as antisocialness and anxiety. However, little is being done to help teens and their anxiety. Parents and therapists today are the people who know the teens the best. However, recently, it seems that they are been lacking in their very important jobs. In a survey done by the psychology department at Texas State University, it is found that out of the dozens of teens they used, 8% of them have contemplated suicide, but only half of their parents were aware of it. Teenage minds are still in development, so parents should be more involved in that development. On another note, as you all may or may not know, Nicholas Cruz was responsible for the Florida Parkland massacre. However, while he did have mental issues, the events could have been avoided. While he did have mental factors, he did go to basic therapy sessions. However, it seems though that his therapist paid no heed to his issues. In one session, his therapist even acknowledged the fact that of his concerning interest in war and terrorism. That alone should have been a clear indication that something was wrong with the team. Students need someone to fall back upon, and when in times of distress. In the case of Cruz, who had no one, his inner hatred, stress, and depression caused him to join the crime.
A potential counter-argument to this could be that depression does not have a severe enough effect on depression that antidepressants should be used to treat it. A quote cited from Marcia Angel by John Horgan, a writer for the Scientific American, says, Angel cites research suggesting that antidepressants, both SSRIs and other medications, may not be any more effective than placebos for treating those forms of depression. This means that antidepressants may not be any more effective than placebos or drugs that have no clinical effects but trick the brain into thinking they have effects, causing the brain to release chemicals to make said effects happen. It could also mean that antidepressants only have an effect on the most severe forms of depression, as shown by the graph, which shows that antidepressants only had a clinically significant effect above placebos on depression with an initial severity of 30 or higher. If this is true, antidepressants are basically a glorified placebo for the majority of the population. They can also cause cardiovascular issues, urinary problems, sexual dysfunction, osteoporosis, central nervous system issues, overdose, addiction, or cancer risk. It can also cause other depressive symptoms, including weight gain, sleep disturbances, and suicidality. All of these issues can compound your depression while also giving you other negative side effects that could potentially kill you. A possible solution to this could be to treat depression with therapy instead of antidepressants. However, this may not be enough for some students, but in these cases, antidepressants will have a significant effect on them because therapy will not treat the most severe depression.
We could also try to have everyone become more aware of reports and signs of early depression. However, it is hard to influence a populace to do anything or to spark any change, so this is very unlikely.
We could also have parents, teachers, and the child come together to intervene instead of punishing them. Parents should respond with compassion and let them show it's wrong, than just giving a slap on the wrist. But it also may be difficult to sway the populace, since most parents like old school way of discipline.
Okay, a couple questions for you gentlemen. Patrick, I'm going to start with you. Give one specific way that your thinking changed as a result of learning about Jack's findings.
I had to take into consideration the fact that teens like to use antidepressants, so I had to really take that into consideration when resolving my lens, like how many teens today take antidepressants, how many, I just had to take it into consideration.
Okay, Cole, describe how the content of the team presentation was changed as a result of group discussion.
Well, me and Andy were talking about, and Andy's scientific lens made me rethink my lens to environmental, so I had to take out all my stuff and put in new ones, which would rechange what the solutions and the limitations were.
Okay, Jack, what is a way in which your team's resolution makes you think differently about your own individual research?
Well, our team's resolution was that depression is still severe enough that it should be treated, even with the side effects of antidepressants. While my IRR argued against that, so my thinking changed because it was like their IRRs introduced new perspectives to mine that made my argument seem less effective and changed my viewpoint on the issue.
Okay. And then finally, Andy, describe an argument from one of your peers' individual reports that made you think differently about your team's solution or conclusion.
Well, I mean, my own solution, which was to have the student, teacher, and parents sit down, basically big CCR meeting, but about depression. I thought that was initially like too naive at that point, and then I heard Jack's too, and initially I was also naive, and I thought antidepressants were a cure-all, the only thing stopping between them and suicide, but now I heard all the side effects. And, yeah.
Okay, thank you.